A, natural resources. What are these natural resources? Natural resources. Natural resources. From the name nature, we get the word natural. Now, natural resources are resources that are made available by nature. These are resources made available by nature. These are resources made available by nature. They are not made by man. These are resources that we find in nature. When you are born, you find these resources available. They include resources like the natural forests, rivers, lakes, the oceans, the mountains, land, and so on. These are natural resources. Rivers, no one makes rivers. The mountains, no one makes mountains. The mountains are not made by anyone. They occur, we say they are naturally occurring. They are naturally occurring. There is no one who is alive today who can claim to have lived at a time when these natural resources were not available in nature. So, natural resources are made available by nature. The mountains, the rivers, the lakes, and so on. E.g., I've mentioned rivers, lakes, mountains, natural forests, etc. Natural forests, etc., land, and so on. So, man, learners, you need to understand that man works on the natural resources to create goods and services. Man relies on these natural resources to make goods and services. In other words, learners, these natural resources provide what we call a potential to create goods, a potential to create goods, or a potential for the country's capacity to produce. These natural resources provide a country with a potential capacity to produce goods and services. If you are to use an example of natural forests, a country cannot engage in lumbering if there are no trees. Okay? You cannot talk of lumbering if there are no trees. So a country will rely on natural forests to engage in activities like lumbering. So these are natural resources. Natural resources. Natural resources. Now, again, learners, it should be noted that the availability of natural resources does not necessarily determine a country's economic progress. The fact that a country has rivers, has lakes, has mountains, has natural resources does not necessarily translate into economic progress of that country. There are countries that receive sunshine throughout the year, especially those that are in the tropics. the tropical countries. For a long time, they have received sunshine. But it's only in recent times that these countries have made use of that sunshine to create solar energy. There are some regions that have clay, but until that clay is converted into pottery products, then that clay does not have any economic benefit. It's just like being useless. And we've seen the continent of Africa has been seen to be one of the continents that is rich in natural resources. But Africa is one of the poorest continents in the world. It's the poorest, yet it has the most naturally endowed in resources. So natural resources, learners, are resources made available by nature. Another example is Kenya. It's only recent that we discovered that there is oil in our country. For a long time, that oil has been there. But the country is not one of the richest in the world. It's not. Yet this country has enormous resources. So these are natural resources. Now, learners, that means that for natural resources to contribute to economic development, human beings must, number one, know that the resources exist. Number two, they should use know-how to extract the resources from their natural setting. You need knowledge. Other than just discovering the resources exist, the country or the human beings must also have knowledge so that they can extract the resources from their natural setting. Then number three, the people or the country has to use the extracted resources to do what? To produce goods and services that can satisfy their wants, or that they can export the goods. That's why I said in Kenya we've had oil, but we didn't know there is oil, you see, because we didn't know. Another thing is that we do not have the technical capacity to make use of the oil, to extract this resource from the natural setting. So that's what we can say about natural resources. There's a lot that we can mention about natural resources, but that is the meaning of natural resources. But I can also state that there are countries that may not have natural resources, but they may have knowledge. They may have expertise. Countries like Japan. Japan does not have enough iron ores or enough iron ore deposits, but it exports vehicles and other products that are made from iron. It imports iron ore, iron then converts that iron plus other materials into vehicles which the company then exports.